like train and stuff, like for astronauts. And I don't even know if it's for like astronauts, but you know how they like use like huge pools, you know, for like, anyway, bro, the Navy has the hugest indoor pool. It's not even a pool, it's a freaking ocean. It's an indoor ocean. Even heard of anything like that. So let's discover this.
I'm here at the Navy's indoor ocean at Carter Rock. This is the biggest wave pool in the world, and they can make all kinds of different waves so they can test scale ships and
like
make them better before they
outside. Like, it looks like it's just, that is crazy.
They go out on the open ocean. I came in and I'd seen some pictures, but I just walked in here and it's just, it's insane. Because they say indoor ocean, but like, it's exactly what it is. The water even looks ocean colored. You know, it doesn't look like a swimming pool. This looks like an ocean. It looks like a test facility. It is huge.
It is 360 feet long in this dimension, 240 feet long in that dimension. It's 20 feet deep, just about the size of a football field out there. The dome above us was the largest freestanding dome for a while.
Largest freestanding dome in the world.
Yep.
God.
What?
In this pool, they can make waves of all shapes and sizes using huge paddles that line 2 walls of the pool.
We have 216 individual wave makers. We can make waves from negative 45 degrees up to 135 degrees, which is kind of coming right back at it.
We are now behind the big paddles that make the waves. These 216 paddles are programmed to move in incredibly well choreographed ways so that they can produce reproducible, perfect size, perfect frequency waves that go across the entire pool.
You can see these air bellows that are what's making the angular motion. That vertical piece is the force transducer. The other force transducer is right up on the top.
There are lots of wave pools in the world, but what makes this one different is control. You can create waves of a specific amplitude and frequency and do so repeatedly.
Can we try a 1 hertz?
Yeah. Do me a favor and dial up 1 hertz.
Amplitude will be 0.078 at 1 hertz.
Hey, go ahead and send it from 0, please. And so this is the largest wave we can make at 1 hertz. That's based on the motion and power requirement for the wave maker.
There's something a bit like surreal about watching this because
Pretty dope.
it almost looks like an ocean, except you never see waves this regular out there.
Correct.
One of the fundamental characteristics of a wave
Artificial
is its
waves.
wavelength, the distance from one crest to the next. The first thing most people learn about waves is they transmit energy rather than material from one place to another. In this case, as the wave travels to the right, the water molecules themselves basically move along circular paths, and the deeper the water, the smaller this motion. All motion stops at a depth equal to half the wavelength. This is known as the wave base. But even in an ideal water wave, the molecules do drift a bit in the direction of wave motion, and this is because the molecules travel faster the higher up they are. So they move farther at the top of their loop, then they move backwards at the bottom, creating a spiral path. This place is perfect for observing properties of different waves. I asked Miguel to show me some waves with different frequencies but the same amplitude.
So what I'll have them do now is I'll have them stop this wave and this change the frequency. Because we're at 0.6, we'll go to 0.5, so it'll be a 2-second wave.
Here I'm split screening waves with frequencies of 0.67, 0.5, and 0.33 hertz, all with the same amplitude.
This video probably not gonna get a lot of views. You know why? Because y'all don't be thinking like this. Y'all not into this kind of stuff. And that's alright, you know? But this is just too much for y'all. Y'all not smart enough. Okay? Y'all don't even know what they talking about. Shit, I don't really even know what they... I'm just kidding. But nah, I actually really think this is very interesting. Like, I don't know why, this is just, I don't know, something that I would want to know. Not that I would actually use it, but I don't know, it's just one of those things, you know? But
So, 2 things to notice. Even though they all have the same amplitude, the ones with higher frequency look like they have a greater amplitude because the slope of the waves is steeper. And second, the frequency of a wave affects its speed. High-frequency waves travel slower than low-frequency waves. In fact, as long as the water is deeper than the wave base, wave speed is inversely proportional to its frequency. They have a really cool demo that takes advantage of the different speeds of different frequency waves. You can see it starting here. They send out high frequency waves first, followed by lower and lower frequency waves. And because the high frequency waves travel slower, the lower frequency waves gradually catch up.
Whoa.
And they've timed it so that all the waves meet up at exactly the same time and place in the pool, and this causes the wave to break. The ocean engineers can do this again and again in exactly the same way, thanks to their precise control over the waves.
This is where our tax dollars go.
This demo also nicely illustrates the
just
principle
play
of
with water.
superposition, that when waves meet, they add together. The height of the water is equal to the sum of the heights of the individual waves meeting at that point. You can see how much bigger the amplitude is. Those individual waves weren't that big, but when you add them all together, you can make this big breaking wave. They can also take advantage of the superposition principle to create standing waves.
So what's coming up next are two regular waves coming at each other, what we call the quilt wave. So we're going to have a wave coming this way and a wave going this way, and it's going to create standing waves. So there's two regular waves coming out, and if you look at the waves, it looks like a big quilt pattern out there.
At some places in the pool, the waves always cancel out to 0 amplitude, and at other places, the waves add up for maximum amplitude. They can even send waves from all directions, so they form circular wave fronts, and then all the wave energy is channeled into one spot they call the bullseye.
And so now we're going to run the bullseye wave, which is essentially the same thing, but instead of having a line of waves, we're having it all coalesce at one individual point. So you can start seeing the waves are coming from the long bank here, and you can see they're making a spherical wave, and then you have another spherical wave coming from the short bank. And this is breaking due to the coalescing waves and the wave height being more than 1/7 of the wave length.
Yo, that is crazy.
We tried throwing some toys into the wave to see what would happen to them. Would they get pushed into the breaking wave? Even though there's not much net movement of the water, the ducky drifts with the waves and pretty quickly is pushed into the bullseye.
How's the ducky doing?
He's getting to the danger zone right now. It's starting to funnel him right into that breaking wave. Ooh, it's there.
Getting up.
Oh, it swamped it.
That's amazing.
That was right where we wanted it.
Now, the real purpose of this facility is not to play with toys or make perfect, unnatural waves. It is to replicate on a small scale the types of waves Navy ships will encounter in the oceans of the world. Research engineers place ships modeled after billion-dollar vessels in the water to see how different designs actually behave in real-world conditions.
Right now, this is coming from 45 degrees.
So
it's going to be
this is
about a
just for
5-inch
test, bro.
significant
What?
wave height, which
What? This is just for a test? So you built this billion-dollar facility, because I know it's $1 billion. Don't ask me how I know how much it costs, because it's $1 billion. All right, that is $1 billion. All the panels, how big it is, all the water, the maintenance, everything, the mechanics. That is $1 billion at least. No questions asked, bro. Just for a freaking remote control boat? Are you serious? Like, bro, this is where our money goes, man. This is crazy.
if we were to scale it up for this model, it would be 20-foot waves. When we're doing a free running model like this, we usually run like a racetrack, like a big circle, or a figure-8 track, so we know the headings that we're running in, so that we can correlate that to, you know, the full-scale vessel.
For the model to provide an accurate representation of the real world, a lot of things must be taken into account.
Is the water fresh?
Fresh water.
Okay, not
Yep.
salty.
Nope, fresh water. So when you're in salty water, you're going to have a lot more buoyancy. So when we're ballasting our models, we have to make sure that they take into account that buoyancy difference. So when we go full scale, you're the same conditions.
For fluid mechanics, I always expect that you have to keep the Reynolds number the same as in the real-world phenomena. But actually, to get the right wave dynamics, you have to use a different scaling, which is based on the Froude number. So the Froude number is a measure of the ratio of inertial to gravitational forces. It's equal to the flow velocity divided by the square root of the acceleration due to gravity times the characteristic length, like the length of the ship. In this case, the model ship's hull is 46 times smaller than the real thing, which means to get accurate data, it should be traveling at 1 over the square root of 46 times its real-world speed. And to make the footage from the model look the same as that from the full-size ship, you have to slow it down by a factor of the square root of 46, so roughly 6.8 times slower. I'm amazed at just how well these shots match. But of course that's the idea, scale the model and the waves so the physics are identical to a real ship out on the open ocean. Naturally, I asked if I could go swimming in the pool, but they said very kindly, no way. The closest I could get would be on a little dinghy.
This is our boat.
No way.
With a catch.
It's pretty smooth sailing out here right now.
Yep, no waves while we're out here.
So, I'm assuming no one's ever been out here in waves?
Nope, that's one of the no-nos they don't want us to do. I guess it's a risk thing, so.
This place seems like like a massive playground, kind of.
It kind of is for engineers like us, where we kind of dork out on the science and what we're doing here. It's a huge volume.
That is huge.
Like, I guess I never understood how deep 20 feet was until they emptied it to put in the new wave makers. It's a large volume just taken up by this water. So as we come by, these are our sensors right here. We have a big array here. These are ultrasonic sensors, and that's how we measure wave height and period and direction in the basin. So we want to measure that to make sure that what we test in is what we think we have.
In this pool, they can create all sorts of different wave conditions you might encounter in different parts of the world. Most ocean waves are created by wind, and the strongest winds occur in and around storms. 5 factors affect the size and shape of waves created. These are the wind speed, the wind duration, the distance over which the wind is acting, which is known as the fetch, the width of the fetch, and the depth of the water. As waves travel out from a storm, the higher frequency waves dissipate their energy more quickly. So the waves that travel a long way are the fast-moving, low-frequency waves, which are called swell.
When those waves end up becoming like hundreds of miles away, like if you have it in the Pacific, eventually you'll get long period swell from them. So you're no longer near the storm, but it created enough energy to make long waves, and that's where you get your open ocean swell.
Tell me if this is a good analogy. I feel like with sound, a lot of the high frequencies will die off quickly away from a source, but the low frequencies will travel much further.
Correct.
So is it the same thing with the waves? It's like you're walking away from a concert and you can still hear like the bass, but you can't see any of the high frequencies.
That's a great analogy. Yep.
What's the deal with rogue waves?
People like to think it's a rogue wave where it just came out of nowhere and just came up. No, it's usually multiple waves that are meeting up and creating an amplitude that's much larger than what the self-standing wave would be. So when it meets, it's going to break because you have this large wave creating this huge amplitude that it just can't hold it and it breaks.
On a calm day, when you see waves crashing at the beach around 10 seconds apart, that is swell. But because of its long wavelength, swell isn't really a concern for ships out in the open ocean.
If you're on a long period swell, your ship's probably just going to heave a little bit. You're more worried about the steep waves and the windy waves that are really smooth.
But yeah, man, I'm gonna call it at that. Please don't forget to subscribe. Daily content, all right? And yeah, this was very, very interesting. For me, at least. All right? Deuces, guys. Peace.